And I'm happy to see Mr. Roger Obubo. He's our trainer from NiWARD, African Women in Agricultural Research and Development. You're welcome, sir. And in 2018 in Bayelsa, he handled single-handedly, took on the gender workshop. So please, sir, we crave your indulgence in responding to some of the questions and comments from the participants. So I'll open the floor for people who want to ask questions, apart from those already in the chat box. You can raise your hands for recognition, and then we carry on. I'm seeing a question in the chat box. It says, what methods can be adopted to make other groups, for example, older men, older women, young men, in a community, accept without forcing it on them transformative policies aimed at ensuring proper participation of a particular gender group, for example, young women? Would anyone like to answer that question? Dr. Abdul Wahab?
Let me, thank you, Dr. Ebinimi. Let me try to answer that at least from the perspective of, who duty bearers are. Talking about strategies that can be adopted, to move.
You're muted. Please, you have to unmute rather.
Sorry, please. I thought I did. All right, thank you. I said, let me come in by making an attempt to answer the question. Methods that can be adopted to make other groups, to accept a change in terms of gender perspective. If I get the question right, that's what the person is trying to know, without necessarily forcing people. You want them to have a change of opinion, or you want them to begin to better understand and appreciate that each institution or each individual have a role to play, and that it is a collective effort that they all need to come together to ensure, gender balance or gender equality. We want to give everyone an opportunity, a fair play, rather than looking at it from, a male-dominated or a women-dominated angle. So the strategies that can be used will be dependent on the particular environment or the society that we find ourselves. What works here might not work in another environment. But again, like I said in my presentation, we should not use divisive methods. We should try to look at the needs of the people around us. Those are part of the strategies we can use. Gender mainstreaming on its own is a good strategy that we could adopt to ensure that everyone is given equal opportunity. So when we are planning or designing projects or programs, allow everyone. We shouldn't focus it on duty bearers or ESCOs or special people or particular group of people. Let the room be level. Let the ground be level for everyone to have equal access to those resources. It shouldn't be that women are the ones that will have access to the water. Let the men too have access to water. They both need it equally. I would like to join this, although this question shouldn't be mine, I think, but I would like to join it to a question here in the chat box that was directed at me. If I said United States, maybe it was a slip of tongue. I actually meant United Nations. I should have said United Nations, trying to de-emphasize gender equity. Because if you look at gender equality, it would have captured naturally equity. If we refer back to that picture where we have gender equity, the one by Mr. Adeniyi, where we have gender equity, gender equality, and justice. What the United Nations, that's the conglomeration of all nations, what they are trying to move on, the direction we are going now in the world is that everyone should have equal opportunity, trying to maintain a gender balance while still adhering to the principles of the fundamental human rights, meaning both men and women, boy and girl, should have equal opportunity to resources or facilities or even decision-making capacity. So if that is the case, then rather than help one person up by, playing that equity thing, why don't you remove the barrier? Why don't you remove the stereotypic statements, the cracks, the gaps that we have on our own, built? Because we said it is gender is a constructive or a social rule. We are the ones that constructed those stereotypes. So remove those gaps, remove the barriers, and let everyone have a fair play. So if, for example, it is a competition and it is the girl that won, if, for example, it's 100 meters sprinting and the girl, we don't have to necessarily separate them. That, okay, girls are the weaker vessels, they are not able to perform certain tasks, or men are stronger, they are better at this. Give both equal opportunity. And when we stress or emphasize gender equality, equity would have naturally been taken care of. What is equity about? We want everyone at the end of the day to have equal opportunity. I don't know if that will satisfy our curiosity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have in the chat box, please can the slides on gender be sent to participants individually, especially to those who request for it? I am in need of it personally. The slides will be put on our conference blog, so you watch out for it. I'm going to post the link to the blog in the chat box, so you can watch out for it and other information regarding this conference and our previous conferences. It's www.conference.blogspot.com. So you can get it from there. And this link will also be on the NiWARD website, www.niward.org.ng. So watch out for the slides. We'll be sharing them on the platform after the conference. I'm not seeing any hand raised.
Please, Ma, can you just repeat the first website or the first link?
Okay, the first website, I've posted it on the chat box. NiWARDconference.blogspot.com. Okay, please, I would like Mr. Roger Obubo to contribute on the highlighted question. Sir, you have the floor. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
I'd just like to make a comment or two about the question about methods to engage the community, because most times when people look at communities, they think that they have all the solutions and the people who are the participants of projects do not have anything to offer. They just are recipients. It's just like in training. If you want to train people, you have to do needs assessment, training needs assessment. Similarly, when you're trying to look at projects in the community in terms from a gender perspective, you must also try to make sure that you look at the needs of those communities, not just the needs, because when you've done the gender construct, you have specific roles, and those roles are based on capacities that the community has assigned to these gender groups. Therefore, it is important that before the project starts, we have to do something about the specific needs of these different groups that you have highlighted, and also not just the needs, but their capacities. I take the example of the first speaker's illustration, where young ladies were supposed to be going to do the water fetching, and therefore the borehole project became a disruptive influence on the benefits that they had in their tasks. Now, these kind of things can be sorted out if we had a sufficient interrogation of the needs and capacities and the benefits of the particular tasks that accrue to them as a group. So we must not ever forget the need to assess the capacities and the specific needs and the benefits that people derive in achieving and implementing the task that society has assigned to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was quite educative. We appreciate you. In the absence of any more questions or comments.
There was another question, ma.
Okay, go ahead. Please read
There
it
was
out.
one question in the chat box that asks about difference between gender integration and gender mainstreaming. You know, gender integration is all about the strategies that are put in place to in project design and implementation to ensure that all these gender inequalities or gender bias, whatever, are taken into consideration when designing a project. So when gender integration is done properly, it will now lead us to what we call gender mainstreaming. So that will be about putting those strategies in place to now ensure that whatever we are doing is taking into consideration all those other gender. So it's like one process leads into the other one. If it is well integrated, if gender is integrated in the process, then we have gender mainstreaming. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please help me search through in case I've missed out any other question.
I think basically those are the two questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. I want to thank all the participants for hooking up and patiently waiting to the end of the presentations. We look forward to interacting with you in the next session and tomorrow. The next session we're going to have will do with the plenary, and I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. So right now we would just take a short break, a health break for 15 minutes. So we will resume back here at 12:06. I want to also use this opportunity to thank all the resource persons and say we appreciate your efforts. If there are areas you need to brush your slides up before we put it on the website, that would be very helpful.